Hi there, it's me, Annalisa Boyd, Orthodox Christian wife, mom to 8, bread baker, candy maker, self-proclaimed doula, accidental midwife, and the author of the Ascetic Lives of Mothers, Hear Me, and Special Agents of Christ. I apologize. I was in the middle of moving last month, so I didn't get any podcasts done. But let me tell you, moving 12 people from one side of town to the other side of town is crazy, but we made it successfully, and glory to God for all things. Now, today I wanted to talk, since, we are well into the school year, whether you're homeschooling or sending your child to public or private school, we are well into the school year. And one of the things I wanted to mention was the opportunity to bless our children and the opportunity for us to encourage them and help them to recognize when they are letting God work in their lives. Now, how do you do that? Well, it is possible. It's hard because we are so accustomed to reacting when there's some sort of altercation, or, you hear screaming in the other room, or fighting, or stuff left out all over the house, because that's happened. I know, in my house. But there are lots and lots of opportunities to bless and encourage our children if we look for them. Think about this. Have you ever had one of these days where it's quiet? And it's not the uh-oh kind of quiet. You can actually hear your kids in the other room, and they are getting along, and they are playing cooperatively, whether they're playing video games or Legos or whatever. They're interacting well together. They may be watching a movie together, and they're laughing together, and it's this calm that comes over the whole house, and it's just beautiful. And we don't want to interrupt that, because the magic spell will be broken, and we're afraid, and we want to take advantage of this opportunity to get some work done, to sit down and look at a book, or do quiet time, or listen to ancient faith or something like that. So we let it go, and we just listen, and we enjoy it, which is not a bad thing. That's actually a really good thing. And I would not recommend going and disturbing the magic. But what happens when the spell is broken? All of a sudden there's screaming, all of a sudden there's arguing, and we kind of roll our eyes and go, I knew it wasn't going to last. Okay. And we go and try to put the fires out, literally and figuratively. Yeah, that's happened. So we could do things differently in that situation. Instead of going and putting the fires out and say, okay, stop sitting on his head. You guys know better. I mean, you guys were doing so well, and what's the problem? That's how we could handle it. Or we can say, wow, you guys were letting God work in your lives. Now, I've done this a couple times, and my children look at me like I'm insane. We were just fighting, and you're telling us we are letting God work in our lives. No. For 45 minutes, for 2 hours, for 5 minutes, you guys were letting God work in your lives. You were listening to one another. You were being kind. You were being gracious. You had to humble yourselves in order to let somebody else's idea be spoken. You had to do a lot of things that God calls us to do, and you guys did it right. And they look at me like, I did. Because we're always correcting. We're always pointing out the mistakes. But there are very few times that we really, unless they've, gotten an A on a paper that they studied for, or unless they, score the winning goal or basket or whatever, those are the moments that we tend to praise and get excited for them. But when they are doing God's will, when they are practicing the fruits of the Spirit, when they are humbling themselves, they are doing God's work. And we have to help them recognize that, so that they can tell themselves, oh, this is what God's will looks like So I'm going to make this choice. So down the road, they have more experience recognizing what following God looks like, and more likely, hopefully, to avoid the things that are not pleasing to God, the mistakes or the wrong choices. So there was a man who was a speaker at the Christian Conference Center where we worked. His name was Bill Butterworth. Poor guy, because he says as a child he was overweight. So having the last name Butterworth, everybody thought, or would joke that he was the child of the syrup container, And so he had a hard time, but he handled it by developing a great sense of humor, and has become a great speaker, has worked as a chaplain type person with professional athletes, and has done a lot of team building and all of those things to encourage people in the workplace, Christian companies, and different things like that. So he has 5 kids. He decided that he was going to take what he was learning and applying in the workplace and do it at home. So he was going to come home and he was going to tell each of his kids something that he appreciated about them, something that he noticed that they were doing. And so he did. So he came home. He started with the oldest. Julie, I am so proud of you, because I saw you in the backyard. You were practicing making goals, and you did so great at that game. And I know that was hard for you, and you stuck to it. I'm very proud of you. Joseph, I heard about that situation at school where that kid took credit for something good that you had done, and you didn't get angry, and you didn't even try to explain it. And that was humility. That was great what you did. And he finally got down to his 5-year-old, and he was like, oh, I didn't plan on what to say to the 5-year-old. What do 5-year-olds do well? Okay, you are learning to do your hair yourself. With a 5-year-old's hair, he did what he could see in the front, and then the back looked like he had just waken up or been in a hurricane or something like that. And they were all so pleased that Dad had acknowledged their successes. Well, that night after dinner, he had gone to tuck them into bed and everything, and he couldn't find everybody. And finally, he found them, and they were all in one room, and he heard this. Julie, did Dad come and talk to you today? Yeah, it was really weird. Tommy, did Dad come and talk to you? Yeah. Is Dad dying? And which was hysterical when he was sharing this, but it made me think, I don't want my kids to think that something's wrong with me because I'm blessing them. And we are absolutely there to train our children in the way they should go, so that when they grow old, they will not depart from the teachings of Christ. But we are supposed to, within that training, we can bless them, we can encourage them, we can train them to recognize what it means to be a Christian and what it means to follow Christ. So I just wanted to share these things. I will be back and doing stuff the rest of this month. So let's bless our children and encourage them in the faith. And let's keep working out our salvation one mommy moment at a time. Thanks.